Hi again. So I'm excited to be here today with many of the new faces of our new DFL House majority. We have some really big challenges ahead, but these great candidates and soon-to-be great representatives are, well, some of them currently great representatives, I guess I should say, really to get to work and get to governing. And that's really the message I think that we need to take out of this election. Voters told us loud and clear that they want to end the kind of roadblock, gridlock politics, have a majority that's going to work with Governor Dayton, but with Republicans and Democrats alike to find common ground and to solve some of our challenges. And that's what our first order of business is going to be. Compromise is not going to be a dirty word with this DFL House majority. We are ready to work together and work hard in a collaborative manner to make progress for this state. And I really want to thank all the candidates from both of the parties for running for office and for choosing public service, those that won and those that lost. You know, these campaigns, as we've seen, can be really fierce and obviously competitive. But at the end of the day, everybody that gets into running for office gets into it for the right reasons, and that's to serve the people of Minnesota, and they really do deserve our thanks. You know, people always ask, what's the message of an election? I think there are some messages coming out of this election, but one of the things that we forget, and I think this really is one of the reasons this campaign turned out as it did, is that we really did have some amazing hard-working candidates who are deeply connected to their communities running for office this year, the folks that are standing here with me today. And I think that is a really important fact just from this perspective. One of the things we want to make sure that we do as we work as a majority is that we have people that remember where they came from, remember the communities they represent, and make sure that they're putting the interests of their constituents first and foremost. And I think these folks are absolutely going to do that. I do want to thank, first of all, Deborah Hillstrom, who did tireless work across the state over the last several months. In addition to being a terrific legislator, member of our caucus, she really stepped up and did amazing work this year. Representative Murphy, Erin Murphy, she's somewhere right there. You know, similarly did tireless work. Recruited many of these fine folks to run for office, and a number of other folks standing here today who are current members, who were mentors, and did really helped. I think most of our freshmen will say that they got very good support from the members of our caucus. I'll also say that really none of our members complained about not getting as much attention as they might have otherwise wanted. So that's a good thing. I want to thank them for that. So who do we have standing here? Dan Schoen is a Cottage Grove police officer who's going to be a great advocate for public safety at the legislature. And EMT, right? Yes. Yes. Peter Fisher, someone who has worked in his community for decades. And has experience both in the business world and more recently working in the nonprofit world, turning around a nonprofit financially and turning it into something that can really serve a lot of people. Joanne Ward, a small business owner and someone who also has experience in the schools and knows that stronger schools are going to lead to stronger communities. Barb Russo is here right there. Yep, she's a chemical engineer and an educator, another good combination. That's one of the things about these candidates. They do have very diverse and rich backgrounds. Ron Earhart speaks for himself. No. Hopefully not too much, but no. Okay. And really a new generation of some really great, younger folks who I think are really leaders for our party and also for our state going forward. Joe Radinovich is here, I think the closest of our elections, right?
315 votes.
315 votes, second closest, I guess. And Carly Moline, of course, is here too, who's been around for a while, but starting her second term. I don't know why I threw you in on that group. I'm sorry.
She's young.
That's right. So it has been a little bit. Ray Dane and Mike Freiberg, or Freiberg, yes, are here and as well from Minneapolis and the near suburbs, and they're going to be great members of the caucus as well. And I know I'm forgetting someone.
Seltzer.
Oh, Von Seltzer is here, but that's not who I was thinking. That's who I was thinking of. No, I was going to get to a joke there about Tom Rukavina. But yes, Jason Metz is here, stepping into the large shoes of Tom Rukavina. And then Yvonne Seltzer is here, and thank you. Oh, and Lori Halverson is here as well. See, I think we didn't get the full RSVP list, so we're still trying to get all organized. But we're really excited. I also want to just thank our hardworking staff who put in a lot of work across the state. We can maybe give them a hand. And at the end of the day, millions of voters who turned out for this election, and I think sent a strong message to us, which is that they really want us to work together to focus on moving this state forward in as cooperative a way as possible, but really focused in on taking on those bread and butter issues that are going to make a difference in middle-class families' lives, and that's what we're going to hopefully all stand together to accomplish. So thank you.
Mr. Leader, most of the people you introduced, most of the new members, are suburban. Most of them are suburban. And do they bring a different perspective than the big city liberals who dominate your caucus?
Well, I don't know if big city liberals actually dominate our caucus, but no, absolutely. I mean, certainly, this is going to be a new caucus. We have over 50. Well, what do we have? 20. We have 19 new members in our DFL caucus who are freshmen, and we have a number of additional members who are returning. So I'm not counting those folks in the 19. And I think there's 12. New Republicans in the House, something like that. So we have a lot of new members that are going to be here, and they're all going to bring their voices to the table, and we'll have to incorporate them as best we can.
But are there some common characteristics that the new members have that distinguish them?
Yeah, well, I mean, they worked really hard. I think that they're very connected to their communities. I think that really is something that struck me, and I think probably struck Erin as she was out recruiting and talking to people. And I think they come with a much more, well, I shouldn't say much more, but they come with a practical kind of problem-solving approach to things, which I think maybe is more characteristics of. Well, I'm not going to go there either. I'm getting in trouble with myself. But they come with a kind of a pragmatic, roll-up-your-sleeves approach, a problem-solving approach, and I think that's going to benefit us very well.
Will that make it harder for you to sell a tax increase for these new members?
We have yet to caucus, and we're going to need to talk about that. But here's the deal. Everybody continues to talk about a tax increase. What happened over the last 2 years is we had huge property tax increases. What we need to look about is how our whole tax system fits together, and that's going to be the focus of, I think, and should be the focus of any tax discussion that we have.
Should wealthier Minnesotans pay more in taxes? Says yes.
So, I think this is a discussion we're going to have. I mean, and we've talked about this, many times before. But again, we have not gotten together as a caucus to discuss how we're going to end up. I think we're very much looking forward to the governor's proposal, and what we want is a fair, simpler tax system, and that's what we've said all along. But that just isn't about a single part of the tax system pulled out like that. Property taxes have been going up, not just on homeowners, but also on businesses, and we want to make sure that we address that issue as well.
Senator Box, if you want to put the policy issues aside, this is what I was going to ask you earlier. Do you want to do that too?
This is part two?
This is part two.
Okay. I think we need to, our first and foremost job is to balance the budget. And that's what we need to get focused on and balance it in a structurally sound way, which we haven't done in the 10 years that I've been in the legislature. And so that will be the first thing or at least the first priority that we need to focus on, because that's our first and foremost responsibility as stewards of this state.
But would you think that if you're a leader here, that you would push policy issues to another year?
Policy issues. No, I don't think necessarily we would push all policy issues to another year, and I think that that's a discussion we still need to have about what's going to happen. But again, first and foremost, we're going to focus on getting the budget done. And as you know, a lot of policy issues kind of fit hand in glove with the budget. A lot of policy you can't push without having a budget involved.
Did you see a mandate in this election? If so, what was it?
I think. To me, the biggest mandate from this election is that people want politics and a government that's focused on the basics and that's focused on actually solving problems and getting beyond the gridlock, the shutdowns, the roadblock politics that we've kind of experienced both here and in Washington, D.C. over the last several years.
Are you going to feel a lot more pressure because it's all DFL now and you have to really perform? You don't have any excuses now.
Well, and in response, I think at the last time we were together, about 15 minutes ago, so no, I mean that question came up, and I really do believe that what we need to do is focus on the basics and getting those basics right, and governing, and that's what we're elected to do. So whether there's more pressure or less, I don't know that that's the question. I mean, our responsibility as elected officials, as public servants, is to make sure that we actually govern in a responsible way. And I think we've tried to do that, we have done that in the past, and or at least strived for that in the past, and we'll continue to strive for that.
Given how much the House has flipped back and forth in recent years, do you think this is a long-term change in Minnesota, or are you just there for 2 years? So,
well, again... we could replay that one from before. So, we just finished the election, right, last night. It's too soon to be thinking about that. But at the end of the day, I really do believe that good governing is the best recipe for electoral success, and that's what we're going to focus on.
What's going to be your first bill?
I don't know.
Does high turnout mean DFL majority?
I think that was part of it, certainly, but I also think that voters really were expressing, well, there was a lot of things going on in this election. I mean, this was a very complex and rich election in terms of all the dynamics going on.
When will you caucus?
Oh, we're caucusing tomorrow night at 7.
Republicans, in addition to saying Minnesotans should expect more government regulation and tax increases, that they don't expect you to pursue education reform. How do you respond to that?
So, well, to me, the biggest challenge that is facing Minnesotans in our education system is the fact, well, it's shown, or at least exemplified by the fact that we've got the 47th, biggest class sizes in the country. I would say, if you look at who delivered on teacher evaluation, that was a Democratic bill. And it was one that was worked out through the process, getting the input of parents and teachers and experts. And I think that's the process we're going to pursue with education and with just about, I hope, every one of those kind of policy issues and budget issues that we're faced with. If there are reforms that are actually going to move the needle in a significant way in terms of improving student achievement and making sure that our kids are as competitive as any in the world, that's something that we need to look at. But it's going to be done in a way that's focused on the facts and what actually really works.
How many here plan to run for speaker?
But well.
How many plan to run for majority leader?
Can we hear from some of the newly elected leaders and have them introduce themselves?
Sure. Yes. You want to go? All right. Or maybe we should go with Ron first.
I can't.
Oh, go ahead, Laura.
Hi, I'm Lori Halverson, and I was elected to represent Egan in Districts 51B.
Hello, I'm Yvonne Seltzer, and I'm representing 48A, which is southern Minnetonka and northern Eden Prairie.
I'm Joe Radinovich, and I'm representing 10B, which is eastern Crow Wing County and all of Aiken County.
I'm Joanne Ward. I was elected to represent District 53A, which is South Maplewood, South Oakdale, western part of Woodbury, and all of Landfall.
Ron Earhart from 49A, which is Edina, and I think the folks in that district have finally had the shades lifted on what kind of candidates the Republicans have been kicking out. So I think maybe in the long term that means all 3 of those seats went DFL. And I think in the long term that's going to have a significant impact on what happens in that district. Thank you.
Barbie Russo, and I'll represent 42A, which is Arden Hills, Mounds View, Shoreview, and the part of Spring Lake Park that's in Ramsey County.
Peter Fisher, 43A, that's a big chunk of northern Maplewood, southern White Bear Lake, parts of Willerny, Birchwood, and Mahtomedi.
I'm Dan Schoen. I'm going to represent Cottage Grove, Newport, St. Paul Park, and South St. Paul.
I'm Mike Freiberg. I'm going to represent Crystal, Golden Valley, New Hope, and Robbinsdale.
Go ahead.
Jason Isaacson, 42B, Roseville, Shoreview, Little Canada, and Arden Hills.
Hi, Raymond Dean. I've been elected to represent 59B, which is the majority of downtown Minneapolis and the southern side of North Minneapolis and about half of the Bryn Mawr neighborhood.
Jason Metza, 6B up on the range, and Rookavina always tells me not to call it his seat, but when you have it a quarter century, I took over Rookavina's seat. So.
Miss anybody?
All right, thanks everybody.